Number one, I think you should be singing this from the top of the mountain. I think you should be yelling this in a megaphone, telling people, hey, because currently you have said more to me about ICE detention facility than he has to all of Hall County. This is one of the questions I have, is how much of our economy is driven by the defense industry?
Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Your Own Business podcast. I'm Jerry Parisi, and with me today is Gregg Poole. Mr. Gregg Poole, running for Georgia's 9th Congressional District seat in the House. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Mr. Poole. How are you doing today?
Good to be here.
Election day is coming up. You excited?
I really don't know. A lot of people's asked, how do you think we're doing? And I have no idea how to gauge this, so I'm wide open.
But at least it'll be over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love for it to be over with.
So why did you decide to join the race and run for Congress?
It's kind of I would tell people, and I have told people this, I don't think anybody should vote for me on my reason why I'm running. I don't think anybody should vote for me just for this reason alone. But I really feel like that this is what the Lord is impressing on me to do at this point in time in my life. And you're going to hear a lot of candidates say that. And you should believe them until they're proven to be liars otherwise, which most people are. But I think that I really believe that I'm stuck. I could not progress on with my life and move in any other direction pastoring. I'm a Baptist preacher, so I could not pastor. I really feel like the Lord was impressing on me to lead me in this way. I will say this. Last year we were helping in 3 revivals in a row, 3 or 4 weeks of revival. And in those revivals we were preaching and we were seeing great movement, people giving their lives to the Lord. And finally the last week of the last revival we were in, my daughter-in-law had never been saved. And the last church we were going to help revival had been 16 years since anybody had been saved in this church. It was kind of a struggling church, a good church, but I don't mean that bad. It is what it is. The very first night of revival, my daughter-in-law, she got saved. And so in a time in my life where I know who the Lord is. I know he knows who I am. I know where he's at. And I know he knows where I'm at. In a very time in my life when I'm at a, I reckon you could say a spiritual peak in my life, even in this time, I knew that this was what the Lord wanted me to do. I couldn't get beyond it. I couldn't move on. I was stuck. That's why that is not a good enough reason for anybody to vote for me, though. The reason people should vote for me would be on my record, on the things that we have done or accomplished in our time. Currently, you're looking at the guy who's brought more money back to the 9th District than any of the candidates running. And I've only been a Hall County Commissioner for 3.5 years. I been instrumental. I hadn't done it on my own, but been instrumental in bringing $15 million back to infrastructure in the 9th District. The current incumbent has brought 0. The other guy running has cost the 9th District probably $50 million, and I'm somebody that's bringing money back. I'm the one fighting this system and standing up for the working class people. I believe, now that I've been running, I really believe that one of the reasons the Lord would want me to do this, number one, so I could talk about the Lord and tell everybody you better get ready because we're running out of time, that you need to give your life to the Lord. Number 2 is nobody speaks for the middle class people. Nobody speaks for middle class, working class people. I've been on this campaign trail, talked around with these other candidates, and they'll talk about Washington, they'll talk about politics. They all sound like the same freaking deadheads you hear on TV. Meanwhile, nobody is talking about the 9th District, which is working class. You go travel from Hiawassee to Beaufort. You go to Blairsville to Sugar Hill. You go from Gainesville to Clayton. Most of the 9th District is average, everyday working class people that's probably got most people have $150,000 or less income in a house, and they're struggling. People are struggling to pay the bills. And nobody is talking about it. Nobody is talking about working class people. And I am of the belief, and I assume that if we do not address working class people, we're going to lose the voter base, and it's going to flip to a Democrat mindset because we are not addressing key core issues, which is affordability. It's the biggest issue I talk about. Nobody says nothing about Iran. I mean, the same people that's telling us to go to war in Iran is the same people that told us there's WMDs in Iraq and Afghanistan. $5.5 to $6.5 trillion later, we still have not ever found the WMDs. So the same bureaucrats that are telling us go, go, go is the same morons that told us go, go before. And I believe we need a good sound voice, and I'm loaded with words where I want to talk about it. I mean, somebody's got to stand up for us, I think. That's my mind.
Fair enough. Okay, so you hit a bunch of points there. So let's, if I could pull the first one out, affordability. As a congressman, what do you think you could do to affect some change and make things more affordable for working class people?
Number one, I don't think anybody could change anything of themselves, in and of themselves. But the first thing you got to do, you got to be able to go in the room and have these uncomfortable conversations. Currently, in the Trump administration, Secretary Turner is the director of HUD, and he's awesome. I think he's a spiritual human being. I think he would be somebody you could work with because he knows the Lord and he is a spiritual person. But number two, one of the main people the Trump administration has got in their administration to address affordability is a guy that comes from a high-density background. A Pulte, I can't remember his name, I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Pulte. So he's indoctrinating people to believe that high density is going to be the best way. And you can't make me believe that. You cannot. One thing we have seen, and I've seen charts like Gwinnett County. When you think about Gwinnett County in 2000, they were 65, 66% Republican vote. 2025, they're 66, 68% Democrat vote, and the correlation is directly related to the high density, to the townhomes, to the apartments, to just flooding the zone. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of development that is absolutely going to turn beautiful red counties into the ugliest blue cities you've ever seen in your life. And it's coming right up through here. And I will say this, developers and realtors, they're neither Republicans, they're neither Democrats. They just want to make money.
From the Green Party.
Yeah, they're green. They're Martians. They do not care about anything other than their profit margin. So somebody like me that's a Christian that's got good moral values, somebody's got to stand on the hill and tell everybody what's happening, what's fixing to happen to us. I feel like we're very much in the minority when it comes to people wanting to talk about this because it's so uncomfortable, because these people are the donors for all these campaigns, these politicians. I'll say this, go to every politician in North Georgia and see who's donating money to their campaigns. Just check it out. I will promise you they're not giving it to me. We don't want their money. We've said this. We don't need your money. I'm running on my own money. I'm running on what the Lord has afforded me to have. And all we're doing is asking people to vote where we can stand up for the Bible Belt. We are the last stronghold in the southern states. We have to stand tall. One of the consequences that most people don't, unintended consequences or unrealized gain that you get from this crazy growth is what it costs the taxpayers. People want to know why their taxes are going up. And I will tell you, one of the reasons your taxes are going up because your local politicians keep voting to flood the zone. And when you flood the zone, number one, your judicial goes through the roof. One of the main reasons in Hall County that our taxes are so high is we have a higher judicial cost than counties that are bigger than we are, that has more population, because we have unrestricted rentals. When you have higher rentals, you have higher judicial costs. You have higher crime. You have higher everything that you don't see when they pass all this high density. They don't tell you, oh, yeah, one of the things you're going to get out of this, we're going to have to spend more money on courts. You're going to have more law, more fire, more roads, more traffic. There is so much that comes with it, and it changes our voter block. So how would a congressman, number one, I think you should be singing this from the top of the mountain. I think you should be yelling this in a megaphone, telling people, hey, the warning. You got to sound the warning that it's coming this way. You got to sound the warning. Number two, when these developments come into our counties like this, it is a crime that they don't buy local. They don't use local assets, because the national builders are privy to national buying accounts that our local builders are not privy to the same pricing. So one of the things that I would think that we could do is stop those national accounts where these builders come in and they have pricing points that me or you wouldn't have if we were that local builder. So actually it's an economic deterrent when you allow a national builder to come into your community. They're not going to buy at Home Depot. They're not going to buy at Builders First Source. They're not going to buy at City Plumbing and Electric. They're not going to buy anywhere local, buy the lumber, plumbing, mechanical, any of that. They're not going to buy, which means then that money's not in your tax base. They're not going to use local assets to frame, plumb, wire, HVAC. They're not going to use that. They're going to bring people that travel with them around the nation doing this. So it's actually an economic deterrent when you allow national builders. When you allow local builders to do this, they're local people that lives in the community. You're enriching your local community because they're going to spend money local. They're going to buy local. It's going to help the local thing. So one of the things that we should look at is the indoctrination that we're having right now about the mindset of that price point. I heard a guy talking Saturday, and he was talking about how much it costs for a lot now, and he was saying it was $80,000 what they had it figured for a lot. What we see in these projects now is they put iron on the ground. When I'm talking about iron, son, they put the equipment in there, and they're moving dirt on the whole site because they're trying to get it leveled lot. Where used to, iron on the ground meant you was putting roads in, and you'd plot it out. And the only infrastructure they had was the roads and things of that nature that goes along with the power and all. And then they just plot it out, and then they'd let everybody build a house. So the developmental cost would be tremendously lower. But what it is, they make more money per square foot, these builders do. I mean, and they're going to argue with me tooth and nails over this, and I'm good with that. I don't want them to agree with me. I don't want them to dislike me, but I want to have this uncomfortable conversation. I think this is what we're lacking. I mean, we're lacking having these conversations. And let's do the math. Math is math. Numbers don't lie.
So I hear what you're saying, but as a lawmaker, I guess, what options do you have to make sure that local builders are able to build houses in the community rather than a national builder?
I think nationally, one of the things we ought to do is look at regulations and how we've allowed them to. Currently, they say they've addressed these corporations like buying all these houses. But nationally, if we could do away with national accounts, because one of the things, I think it's a tremendous advantage for them to have over your local people. I think there could be regulations that could put in place on that. Number two, I think when you look at, I was talking with a GDOT guy the other day. We were talking about building roads. And it's a NEPA process. I think it's National Environmental Protection Agency or something like that. Anyways, I got that wrong. So all the GDOT people, forgive me if I'm wrong. But that one study is 7 to 10 years. 7 to 10 years on getting a study done for this. And one of the biggest incumbents or obstacles or obstructions we see in the government, I don't think that we need to make rules. I think we need to take a machete in there and chop the crap out of it. I think one of the biggest things people talk about is what kind of rules would you do? I think our number one thing would be to go in there and just hatchet, cut, over-regulation, cut, get it out of here, cut. Because I did a little research. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but when you think of the amount of workforce that's in the GDP right now, when you think of federal, state, local, government bureaucrats, people that work for these three agencies, or work for companies that are building for defense and all that, when you add all them numbers up, it's shocking how much of these jobs are factored into the GDP. It's amazing. It's between, I think it's between 25 and 35, best I could tell, %. So when you are saying, let's chop, get rid of over-regulation, well, when you're chopping, you know who you're chopping? You're chopping jobs, because these people that are unelected bureaucrats, and I've seen this in Hall County, one of the reasons that it's so hard to make your local government be highly efficient is because when you say we're efficient, you're recognizing that there's a lot of jobs that you really don't need.
Yeah.
So when you're being efficient, you're also being a machete-wielding, crazy-looking guy he hates us. No, we're just trying to be efficient. Because in the model of efficiency, you're realizing that if you're going to be efficient, we don't need a lot of things. I think just having the conversation, do I think there is rules that we could make or laws that we could make? I don't want to say there is, but I honestly believe that one of the things with me being in construction, used to, a breaker like you just put in your house, this old house here is where, was $2. Well, we are mostly a commercial, industrial, healthcare wiring company. And so we hardly ever do residential anymore. So a guy was telling me the other day, he said, you know how much that breaker now, they make us do these breakers? They're $60.
$60 per breaker.
Yeah. And the reason being would be safe. These are so safe. And if you believe that, me and you's on a different playing field. I'll tell you why it's that. The lobbyists push safety. So when they push this product, they're pushing up the cost. And one of the main things that we should do also with this machete, it's going to sound terrible, me saying this guy likes machetes. We should cut the lobbyists. I mean, it's amazing how many rules and how much cost is imposed on us because lobbyists, I can just see them up there. Boy, these breakers, think about how many fires it's going to cut down on. Think of how much lower the insurance would be when, in reality, the insurance hadn't went down.
Yeah. Never does it?
Never does. When they say we're going to Iran, the gas goes through the roof. But when they say it's going to come down, they say, we'll see it in 2 or 3 months, the gas come back down. Yeah. But immediately it goes up. So, I mean, I think we need to cut. I think we need somebody that's of the mindset, instead of trying to make a name for himself, he should be trying to absolutely go up there and find the obstructions that's in the way. And one of the things the Trump administration said, we're going to drain the swamp. We're going to drain the swamp. Ain't nobody tried to pull the plunge yet. Ain't nobody done nothing but stand in the way or stand on top of it. And we should hold them accountable to draining that thing. We should let the water out right now.
What do you think Congress's responsibility as far as draining the swamp would be?
What I think their responsibility would be?
Yeah, what do you think a congressperson could do as far as affecting that change?
Well,
because most of the swamp, I think, when you're talking about the swamp, you're talking about the executive branch, bureaucrats, and all these 3-letter agencies, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything a congressperson can do to, I guess, cut some of that?
I think it means you have to be somebody that's willing to say a lot of things that's very uncomfortable. And I'll say this, there's not many of us left that want to do that. We've seen this with several things in Congress right now. They just voted, if Eric Swalwell or whatever his name is, this was allowed to be covered up for years and years. And they just voted, and our current congressman voted to suppress that if people were under any investigations. I think he voted for this.
You mean the congressional reports about sexual misconduct?
Yes. I believe our congressman voted for it. And the reason they would say that would be a myriad of different reasons why they would say it. I would say this, you should never cover it up. Just like the Epstein stuff. Drop them names. I'm a new grandpa. If you mess with my granddaughter, I ain't going to drop your name. We're going to cut your legs off. We're going to do everything we can to get rid of you.
Yeah.
In a good, painful way. I'll be honest with you. That's how it would be. Everybody would be that way about their daughters or their granddaughters or their sisters or their mothers or their aunts. So to have a culture where that is even thought of as being an option, to not talk about it is insane. It is insane.
What do you think is going on with that? And why they're not?
I have no idea what it is other than leverage. It would have to be leverage. It would have to be power, leverage, money. It would have to be something that you think, I got you. One would think. Now, or it could be, dang, we didn't know he was on there.
Yeah.
Or she was on there. It's not just men that do stupid things. There's evil women. So when you think of that, but here's the thing. There's never a good option to keep that quiet. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, you don't know what it'd do to the country. Yeah. Well, everybody probably say, we thought that all. You guys are weirdos anyways.
Yeah.
So I think most people are driven by alternative sources other than public service. So you got to figure out what drives people.
I think one of the criticisms that you've lobbed against the incumbent is the Oakwood ICE detention facility.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what your issues with that project are and how you would be different than Mr. Clyde?
Yeah, because currently you have said more to me about ICE detention facility than he has to all of Hall County. So you just said in 25 seconds more than he's had conversations with us. I'm a Hall County commissioner. I'm a Hall County taxpayer. I don't want to hear because I'm a Hall County taxpayer, and I don't want my taxes going up without any representation. And he currently has said nothing to us about that. Not a word. Not a word. When our parks were shut down on the Friday before Memorial Day in Hall County, he didn't call us and say, hey, I'm on this, working on this. Not one word. When we went to Washington, D.C., for the state of Georgia Day at Washington, at the Capitol, this is what they said to us, the Trump administration. We went up there on Friday night, and I said, I seen Dave Wills with the ACCG, which is one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. He's phenomenal.
What is that, the ACCG?
It represents the counties for Georgia. Okay. And he's the head of it, and he's awesome. Mm-hmm. He's a tremendous Christian. He's a great asset for Georgia. We're so lucky to have him. And I seen him across the room, and I went over. I said, "What are we going to do about our parks?" I said they've shut. I said we got to get with the DOD while we're here. He said, "I can't believe you're bringing this up." He said the Lord sent you here. He said, "Hang on one second." He went over and brought a guy over. He said, you ain't going to believe this. He said, we just got out of a 2-hour meeting talking about these parks and what we're going to do. And this is what he said. He said, I know Mike Collins is not your representative, but he said, he's a hammer. He said, he's all over this. You got to get with Mike Collins. He said, I know him. I got his contact information. And immediately I knew we were in trouble in the 9th District. I knew because when they say, hey, when they didn't say he wasn't a hammer, but they didn't even talk about him. They said Mike Collins was a hammer, which is why I'm being a advocate for Mike Collins to be our senator, because he's a hammer. I want a hammer. I don't want a feather. I want a hammer. I want somebody that's working. He's not even our representative, and he's working for us at the time. So I want this guy to be my guy because he's a hammer. I knew then that we were in trouble. And I will say this too. Also, we were in the Eisenhower room, and I took a picture of the White House and all this, and I was sending it to my family. It was kind of a crazy moment. And I texted it to my son and my wife. My son texted me back. He said, tell them people up there what happened to you at Timbridge Baptist Church when you was 8 years old. And I was like, holy freaking cow, my son wanted me to tell these people about when I got saved. And I did. I had to leave the room because it tore me up, because he's a recovering drug addict, and he's doing phenomenal. He's killing it in life right now. He's doing great.
Awesome.
Made a great change, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it. And I was like, one of the main reasons that I had struggled about announcing to run, because I was afraid. I was afraid I was needed at home, because maybe he can't make it without me. Maybe I'm really the one that saved him, not the Lord. You know, I'm questioning myself. Maybe, what if I leave and something goes wrong? And that's why I was reluctant to even do this, because I was like, man, what if I get up there and the wheels fall off?
So what put you at ease with that, to make that decision?
When I was in there and he texted me that, and I had to leave and go to the restroom just so I could compose myself, and the Lord said, you ain't got no reason. I got this. I got this. You got to do it. So I knew at that very instant that it wasn't old Greg that got my son back. I knew then that the Lord was in control, and I've known that, but I really had peace. Peace came over me. I could feel it from my head to my toes. I can feel it right now. I know I'm in the sweet spot. I know I'm hanging over the target. I will tell you this. He didn't tell me I was going to win. I wished he'd said you're going to win in a landslide. He never once told me I was going to win. So somebody, and this guy that works at our Hall County facility, he's the best employee Hall County's got. And he's cool as a cat, man. Esco Riley. He said, you were picked to be picked on, Greg. I said, well, that sucks. We're in this, and I really believe I'm trying to stand up for working class people. I've never seen a day in time in Hall County. The Hall County GOP has not let me speak at their monthly meetings right now.
Why is that? Because you're in the race?
This is what tears them up. They don't like me to say this out loud because it makes them very uncomfortable. And to all the Hall County GOP, learn to deal with it. I'm locked on. And they're going, when they see this or when they hear me talking about this, they're going to probably commit suicide, probably some of them. We hope you don't commit suicide, but we do hope that you leave the Hall County GOP immediately, because for them not to let me speak at a regular monthly meeting and say, well, it's booked, we can't fit you in. For them to keep me from talking means they don't want people talking for the middle class, because that's all I'm talking about is the middle class. I'm talking about working class people. And this is how perverted the whole political system is. Number one, that we would have people that's picking and choosing whose voices are heard or even speaking to. Number two, that they would not want the middle class addressed. We're going to lose that bank of people, I'm afraid, if we do not let the right people speak. Currently, I feel like I'm the only one talking to them. Love you, Hall County GOP.
Okay, so you mentioned affordability was a big issue for
the biggest
middle-class people. Is there anything else that you're hearing from middle-class people, regular, everyday, blue-collar workers that they're concerned about?
That their voices aren't heard. That everybody runs on this, and when they get in, the incumbent has just got a pathway that's a whole lot easier. No, I've not met anybody that's talking about the war. I will say this. Me and my son was in, I think it was LJ, and there were 4 or 5 bikers. And I mean, they look like bikers. And I don't mean that bad. But I mean, you can tell these boys knew how to ride a bike. I ain't talking about no dirt bikes. Mm-hmm. We're talking about some Harley boys.
Yeah.
And my son said, go over and tell them, because my son said, you know, these people, you don't need to shun these people. You need to go to them too. I said, okay. So I scratched my head and I go over there to where the bikers are. And I said, hey, Gregg Poole, run for Congress. I said, what are you going to do about the Muslims? I said, I ain't worried about no Muslims right now. I said, I'm trying to get elected. He said, what are you going to do about them Muslims? I said, I'm going to try and preach to them, try and win them to the Lord. You ain't worried about them taking over? I said, no, I am not worried about them taking over. I said, that is not my thought process. I'm running for this. And I knew then that there's a lot of people worried about Muslims, and that's just not in my, I'm not saying they're not, it's not something we should look at, but I'll be honest with you, it means if we're a predominant Christian society, we must suck at selling Christianity to where that people would think that Islamic religion was a better option. We should really ramp up our games. And I finally had to look at him and say, hey, man, that just ain't who I am. We've got to get out and do a better job, which let me know that maybe we are really struggling as a Christian society and articulating our point of view here. There is no better religion ever been found under man other than that of a Christian, where it's peace. We're the most ridiculed people in the world, Christians are. There is no doubt in my mind. We're the most pushed aside. We're supposed to stand down. You can't say that. You can't tell nobody you're a heterosexual. Or you just laughed when I said that. Yeah. I told somebody, I went to the room the other day, I said, hey, I'm Gregg Poole. I said, and I'm a heterosexual. I was like, what the heck did he say? He said he's a heterosexual. So, yeah.
You got to put it out there.
Well, yeah. I actually felt, one guy in Union County said, hey, man, he said, it's a shame you're a Baptist preacher. He said, you'd be a heck of a stand-up comedian. I said, I know. I said, imagine knowing that and having to live with that knowledge and be a Baptist preacher. So, yeah.
Do you ever think you missed your calling?
No. No, that's part of my punishment. That's the thorn in my flesh that Paul had to live with. This is mine, knowing that I'm really funny.
Fair enough. On those terms, what is your position on immigration?
When we talk about immigration in Hall County, if you come to Hall County, we have a lot of immigrants there. Yes, I think we ought to secure it. But one of the things I would say is why we're in charge of the House, the Senate, the President, and the Supreme Court. One of the things that you would think that they would say is, why don't we do immigration reform? And I know that's a humongous lift, but not to look at it and figure out what it is, because most of the Hispanic population would lean toward conservative Christian beliefs. If I've talked to most of them, so if we could migrate them in and get this lift done, we might position ourselves to have a stronger Republican Party along the way. But something's not adding up.
I've always wondered this too, right? Because you look at a lot of people from Latin America, they're largely Catholic, family oriented. So where is the GOP missing the mark on bringing those people in?
Something's not adding up in the numbers. And I don't know what that means when I say that, but it just feels like something. They're like, the math ain't working here. We can't do this. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's financially what it would do, it's just like there's like a gotcha somewhere and they're afraid to say, well, this is why we ain't doing it. And if there is a reason, I wish they'd just tell us, man. I'm one of these people, I want to know. I ask why a lot.
Yeah.
My mom says my first word when I was a kid was why. And she said that was pretty cute for a while to find I asked it for the 10th time. She said, because I said so, shut up.
Yeah.
My mom would tell me to shut up. So
the Supreme Court just struck down part of the Voting Rights Act, specifically with the districting in Louisiana. And a lot of the news since that decision has come out has been about southern states redistricting to get rid of those sort of districts that have been leaning towards, I guess, race-based populations and districting. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? Do you think we should try to push it through before the midterms? Or
I have not even kept up with that.
Okay.
So for me to give you an opinion on it, I'd be lying because I have not kept up with it. I'll be honest with you. I don't even hardly watch the news anymore since I've been doing this because I want to be as genuine and honest as I am. So I don't want to tell you something I watched on Fox News or CNN or MS. That's one of the things. I think we ought to just do what makes common sense and what's right and just in the eyes of the Lord. And if we do that, we can't lose.
You brought up the war in Iran a while ago, and it sounded like maybe you thought we shouldn't be there. When Donald Trump was running, it sounded like the platform was no new wars, right? And then he gets elected. Last summer, there's a limited operation in Iran, a lot of airstrikes. We were told that their nuclear capabilities had been
totally obliterated.
That's the way he put it. And then now we've been in Iran, I don't know, going on 2 months, I think. What are your thoughts there with what's going on? And do you see a pathway out?
There's always a way out. The Bible says he'd make a way of escape, even a window of escape. So there's always a window. It may be a real small window, but there is a way out. And I will say this. I remember as a young man being told they had WMDs in Iraq. Saddam had them. And $5.5 to $6.5 trillion later, we never found them. So naturally, I'm just telling you who I am. I want people to know who I am. I want you to vote for me knowing who I am. My first reaction is when they tell us they can do this over there, I'm like, yeah, right. And if you don't think that or question it, you just ain't nothing like me. I mean, for us just to be programmed to believe the propaganda that we read now, we're one of only 2 countries in the world where we let drugs be advertised on TV. I mean, that's why we got all these. I mean, you can't watch TV without somebody trying to give you some blue pills. I mean, see what I'm talking about?
Fair enough.
That's funny.
So that brings it back to the lobbyist issue that I think that you talked about before, because I think a lot of that, letting prescription drug commercials on television and things, I think is stemming from
it's so sexual
pharmaceutical
nature.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, I guess, AIPAC and the Israel lobby influencing a lot of our politics? What'd you say?
I won't take a dime.
Do you think there's some undue influence from other countries directing our foreign policy?
I think there's undue influences everywhere you look in Washington, D.C. Not just from other countries, from other lobbyists, from the pharmaceutical. I think the pharmaceutical is tied to the defense industry. I think this is one of the questions I have, is how much of our economy is driven by defense industry? Jobs, selling the bullets. I mean, you got to sell some bullets eventually.
Yeah.
You can't shoot but so many rounds down there on the practice range. You got to drop some warheads every now and then if you're making warheads. You gotta make some money. I mean, so how much of our economy is driven by that? And we spend more. we're the number one spender on defense than the other 9 nations behind us. So we spend more, if you got a top 10 ranking, we're number one, and then we spend more than the next 9 put together on defense. And then we hear, our defense is bad. People, they got these drones. We ain't got no drones. I mean, if you believe that junk, dude, I can't tell you. I just don't think you're smart. I mean, I'm telling you, if you believe that mindset, that's a non-starter with me. You just can't make me believe that. And I honestly think that's why people should want somebody crazy like me in there that's going to say, hey, I believe y'all are stupid, man. If you expect us to believe that.
Well, I think that's everything up there, right? So you've got the military industrial complex convincing you that we need to spend more on that. Out in California, you got this homeless industrial complex convincing people to spend more money on homeless issues, but yet
a rail to nowhere.
They're a railroad to nowhere, and they're just keeping the industry afloat because if they solve the homeless crisis or if you solve the defense issues,
what if it's a big thing?
Then you wouldn't have to spend that money.
Matzo ball at the end, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. I'm one of these people that wants to know, though. I'm not satisfied with a stupid answer.
So you said it, not me, that you were crazy, right? I think that's what I heard.
No, I said people probably think I'm crazy.
People probably think you're crazy. Okay.
And I may be crazy.
Let me follow up on that. So we see a lot of these issues in Congress with the craziness that goes on up there, right? And I think it's absolutely insane, a lot of the stuff that's said and done, legislation that's passed, the issues they do when they're not working. What makes somebody crazy enough to want to go up there and join that?
I'll be honest with you. In a room where everybody's looking like soldiers and everybody's doing their hands, they look like when you see the German military or the Russian military where their feet's all going up together.
Everybody's
in a room like that, I look probably like a crazy guy. But in a room where it's chaotic, I look like I belong. That's where I believe I would thrive. I believe I would settle in. You'd say, "Hey, we're glad we got this guy," because when the crap hit the fan, this guy looks like our boss. This guy looks like somebody that could lead. And people's gonna say, "Yeah, what make you feel that way?" I think it would be the leadership of the Lord. He makes us. I mean, blame him. Pray for me. Please. For the love of God, pray for me. I will say this. I think we need people, and I'll say this again, that is uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And it is very, very, you know how it is when you're in a room where it's uncomfortable and it's even admitting you're afraid, admitting you have no control. And the Lord has had to make me go through some things where I'm like, man, I heard a guy preach yesterday, Mr. Niles, preached at St. John's Baptist Church. And I'm telling you right now, man, he got preaching on Paul and Silas in jail at midnight, singing and praying. Darkest time of their life, locked up for doing what they thought was right. And they said, why don't we just start singing and praying? And the chains fell off. Jailer come in, going to kill himself. He said, don't kill yourself, man. We all here. We all here having church. So in the worst time of your life, you got to lean into the very thing that makes you who you are, which would be the Lord, which in my life would be the Lord. And anybody that don't have him, they got no hope. That's what I want to tell the world. You ain't got no hope. You're looking at me, I'm right, dude.
Is there anything else that you want to tell the voters in the 9th District?
I said this, man, he's my best friend, but he's my cousin. When I announced this, he said, we got to have something people, remember. I said, well, I am the 9th District. He said, what do you mean? I said, when you go through the 9th District and you look at people, we're a real religious 9th District. Church is humongous in the 9th District. Mm-hmm. Working class people, construction, business oriented. I said, when you go through the 9th District, I said, of the 3 people that's running, I said, I am the 9th District. I said, I'll look more like the 9th District. I'm not going to go to Washington and change the way I talk. I said this the other day on the TV. I said, I reckon. And somebody said, I reckon. I said, yeah. I said, that's the 9th District, dude. I said, we say that. I don't know why we say that. You're from Pennsylvania. You every time I say that, you're like, what is that? What is he saying? I reckon. But when you think about this, when you think about the 9th District, when I first did this campaign, a reporter from Washington, D.C. came down and she wanted to interview me. She's a black woman, and she's from Louisville, Kentucky. And she lives in Washington, D.C., and she's a reporter for the AJC. And she was awesome, man. She was awesome. And she came down and met me in Gainesville at Long Street Cafe, which is a great place to eat in Gainesville. Yep. You notice how I'm calling businesses out in Gainesville? Free advertisement. We met there, and I said, hey, come meet me. Let's go eat breakfast. I'll take you over. So we was in there, and people was coming through, and they was, hey, where you doing? You know, where you at? And so we were just sitting there chopping it up, me and all the other boys and in the restaurant. Everybody comes in. She said, everybody knows you. I said, well, they ought to eat here every day. I mean, I'm here all the time. And so we were sitting there. I said, well, what do you think? She said, I'm telling you, man. She said, they don't nobody talk like you in Washington, D.C. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're a normal human being.
Yeah.
She said, everybody, when they get there, wants to be different. I said, I want to stay this way my whole life. I want to be this guy. I said, this is who I am. I don't want to go up there to change, because then you become part of the exact thing that I think is the problem. I just want to go and represent the 9th District. And I believe that's what the Lord's asked me to do. And so that's what I'm running on. And I would say, why not pick one of your own? I ain't from Canada. I'm not a dual citizen. I'm born and raised in Gillsville, Georgia. You laugh when I said that. I said that at one of the things. I said, he's thinking of triple sow cows, and I'm thinking about UGA football.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, nothing bad against him or the other guy running, but I honestly believe I'm the most qualified, and I would be the most fun too.
I think you might be right about that part.
Yeah,
at the very least. Where can people find out more about Gregg Poole and your campaign?
www.greggpoole.com. They can find us on our Facebook page, or you can call me. I mean, I'm easy to get in touch with on there. Just, we want you to follow us. We don't want no money. We're saying that again. We don't want no money. We just want votes. And more than that, we want you to go to heaven with us. If you don't go to heaven, you're going to wish to God you would have listened to me. It'd be too late then, though.
Fair enough.
All right.
The early voting is going on now. And when is the primary?
May 19th. May 19th. Yep. May 19th, get out to vote. And it's important. We have the governor's race. We have lieutenant governor. We have some highly contested races right now. A lot of negativity. So I would challenge people to check out all the people. Make sure you got a good informed vote.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Poole.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Talk to you.
Yep.